All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody to our April 2019 meeting for the Google Educator Group of Ohio. This is a monthly meeting where we take a look at everything new in G Suite from the last month. We share Google tips and tricks and answer questions related to using Google in school. My name's Eric Curts, and I am a tech integration specialist at the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, or SPARC for short. We're an information technology center serving schools in Northeast Ohio. However, this meeting is open to anyone all around Ohio or even outside of Ohio if you would like to join us. As long as you have an interest in Google tools in schools, this is the place to be. So thanks for being here today. All of the resources for today's meeting can be found in our Google Doc editable agenda, which can be located on our GEG Ohio website. That website is at bit.ly/GEG Ohio. From that website, you can find a link to the monthly meetings. If you follow that link, that'll bring up a list of the different meetings. So for example, here's today's April meeting, and you will see the link to the agenda document, as well as the live video that you're watching now, which will turn into the recorded video afterwards. But just want to make sure everybody can get to that Google document. This document has all of the resources we're going to be taking a look at. It is editable, so please feel free to add your own resources to this. There are several spots in here where you might want to throw something in, including the upcoming events, if you know of any conferences that people should be aware of. There's a section further down for Q&A if you've got a question you'd like to throw out to the group. And there's a section at the bottom called Show and Tell, where you can just share what's neat that's going on in your district, what's a neat new extension or tool or project you've come across. You can share those in there. So definitely feel free to type directly in the document, or if you prefer to leave comments, you can just, highlight something and hit the little comment button. And we've also got the YouTube chat stream going as well. And I'll keep an eye on that if you've got anything to share in there as well. In the future, rather than just watching this live video or the recorded video, if you're watching this later, if you would like to actually jump in the Hangout at some point and share a resource or take part in the discussion, I'd love to have you in here. Just let me know. Send me an email ahead of time and let me know what it is you would like to share, and I can give you an invite to jump in, and you can take a few minutes and share in person as well. Certainly you don't have to, don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if that's something that you wouldn't mind jumping in and sharing a little bit, I would love to have anybody on who would be willing to do so. So just let me know about that in the future through an email, and we can get you pulled in for that. But with all that said, let's go ahead and jump into this agenda. It's a big one as always, and want to go ahead and get the meeting started. So we're just going to work our way down through the agenda here. We've already covered the introductions. Howdy, I'm Eric. And we've hit most of the key links there, but I'll mention a couple other things real quick. Certainly, we've got our GEG Ohio website that you can get to the link there. But I do want to mention the one highlighted in green, which is our sign-in form. Now, this is so that I can send out a certificate of attendance after the meeting. I know some folks do need hours for their certificates, and this allows you to submit this to your school. It also does a second thing. It allows me to let Google know that we actually had this meeting. For GEGs, Google Educator Groups, they do ask that we have periodic meetings. And then I do need to send in the number of people who attended and how many people this was their first meeting and how many people it's been, they've come back for other ones. So if you don't mind taking a moment and filling this out real quick, that will allow me to send you your certificate, and will also allow me to let Google know we had X number of people, part of the meeting, and that's very helpful. I appreciate that. Next down in our agenda, we have our updates section where we talk about the group itself, the community itself. And we have had a little bit of a change, and I know this is something we've talked about in the months past. Google did make a change in the last few months about Google+. So way back when GEGs first came out many, many years ago, they were built on top of Google+ communities. Now, Google+ communities still exist, but as I'm sure by now many people have heard, Google did make a change to that, and only education accounts are able to access Google Plus now. Personal accounts like a Gmail account no longer have access to Google Plus. So that means we do still have this old GEG Ohio Google community. But not everybody's able to participate in it, because if all you have is a personal Gmail account, then unfortunately, I mean, you can go and view it, you can see the page, but you're not able to join it. And that also did affect our numbers quite a bit. We were probably close to about 4,000 members prior to that. It's sort of like, I guess, the Google Plus version of the Thanos snap. We lost about half of our community members there. We're down to about 2,000 active members in that community now. But again, that page still does exist. You can absolutely still visit there. I'm still posting things, but now I'm posting them from my work account, because I don't have a personal Google Plus account anymore. They're gone. Poof. They were snapped out of existence. So that does still exist. Definitely feel free to still use that site, share things there, connect with people there. Having said that, we want to make sure everybody can participate. So we did start a new GEG Ohio Google group. And so this is just using the tried and true old-fashioned email distribution list Google group product. And so if you want to, I would encourage you to join that. You can head out to the forum, and from there you can, I'm already joined, but obviously when you get there, it would ask you to join. You can do that in a couple of ways. There will be a button that says join the group, or you can send an email to the address you see here, and then you can click join this group when you get the confirmation email back. But basically, it's just an email distribution list. It's something that everybody should be able to use. And that way we can continue to communicate in between the meetings. If you've got a question, something you want to ask, if you've got a resource you want to share, just a good way to stay in the loop and stay plugged in going forward. Awesome. Very good. All right. Well, that gets us to our section on upcoming events. And this might be a little bit more Ohio-centric. So if you're joining us from outside of Ohio, just hang tight. We'll be getting into the really general stuff here in just a little bit. But please do take note. We've got a lot of events coming up here in and around Ohio. I would encourage you to look down through this list and see if any of these are in your neck of the woods and it's something you can participate in. I will draw attention to just a couple. We do have the ITIP Ohio Summit coming up here in just a couple of weeks. So this is going to be in Sandusky. It alternates between Columbus and Sandusky each year. This year we're up in Sandusky, and I will be presenting at that and looking forward to seeing folks there. So this is one of probably our biggest Google-focused event in Ohio that we have each year, and really looking forward to that. Now, as you can see, there's lots and lots of other awesome trainings coming up. And thanks for we've got some information on OcaliCon. Thank you for putting that in there. Appreciate that. And then I do want to mention the Spark Tech Conference because, well, that's where I work, is Spark. So I'm going to go ahead and take just a quick moment to mention that. A reminder that the date's a little different this year. It's always been, well, not always, but for many years, it's been the first Friday of August. This year, we're doing it on the second Friday of August. So that's going to be August 9th. And that is at Stark State College here in North Canton, Ohio. And would definitely encourage you to not only attend, but hey, how about presenting? We do have the call for proposals open. We're going to be closing it pretty soon. So there's still some time to get that in. I was planning on probably closing it May 1st, but you know how that usually is. I'll probably give a little bit of a leeway there. So if you haven't submitted a proposal yet, please do head out to conference.apps.spark.org, and you can get all the information about the conference. It's a totally free conference, and you can sign up for free and attend for free, and lunch is free, and all that's great. We have wonderful vendors who support us, but we still do have a little bit of a window here open still to get the proposals submitted. So please do consider sharing if this is something that you maybe you haven't done a lot of presenting. Well, it's a good place to start out. I mean, it's a good sized conference, but it's not like going to OETC where, we've got, thousands and thousands of folks. We usually have about 500-600 people there. And so it's a nice place to share what you're doing in your classroom, to share a neat tool. And I would encourage you to consider submitting. And I see that Star has commented, awesome conference. So thank you, Star. I'm glad you appreciate it. We definitely are proud of our little Spark conference each year. Fantastic. All right. And again, thanks. I really do appreciate it. Thanks, folks, for adding new things in here. I see we've got North Olmsted's Roadshow and the OcaliCon. So I appreciate people sharing additional resources that I may not have been aware of. All right, let's keep on moving. This brings us to the meat of our meeting each month. We kind of divide up our meeting into two big sections. One is what's new in Google, and then the other is the Q&A show and tell portion of it. Now, with what's new in Google for this month, I did include a little bit of older things in here. I'm not going to go through these, but we have not been able to have a meeting since January. It has been a crazy last couple of months, and the dates just didn't work out. I am going to try my best, as I always do, to get these back on more of a monthly schedule. It just doesn't always work out. So I did go ahead and leave February and March, just a couple of key items. I did not leave the whole thing in there, but some. So if you missed any of these things, like how Chrome OS is getting a built-in PDF annotation tool, that's awesome. So like Chromebooks, you'll just be able to write on PDFs without needing to use Cami or Doc Hub or things like that. That's an awesome feature coming. Or things like the new spelling and grammar improvements coming to Docs, that it won't just be spell check. We're going to have grammar check actually built into Docs. That's awesome. A lot of really neat resources. The Carmen San Diego game that got added to Google Earth, the new priority page that's coming to Google Drive. A lot of neat things came out in those months. So I didn't want them to just totally get missed, and I went ahead and threw those in. There's just so much, though, in April that we are going to really just focus on April. Having said that, if there's anything you guys have a question on, if there's something that you would like us to circle back around on, please just throw a comment in the margin or throw it in the YouTube chat, and I will be happy to go into any one of these and go into detail on them. Speaking of which, with the April updates, I think we have about 28 updates. Well, we're not going to go through all 28 of these. Again, there's always more updates than we actually touch on individually. So what I've done is I've just highlighted in bold the ones that I thought were worth talking about. Now, they're all fantastic. So I just had to kind of pick and choose, had to make up my mind. And so the ones that you see in bold, that gives you an idea of the ones that I'm going to take at least a couple of moments to chat about. Having said that, though, everything here is valuable. So if there's something here that I'm not talking about, and again, you would like us to mention it, please just throw a comment in the margin or something and say, hey, can you touch on this real quick? And I will be happy to go into depth on any one of these. All right. But let's look at the ones that I thought were worth taking at least a couple minutes and chatting about a little bit. So the first one, it's fun, so I can't not cover it. And that is something I look forward to every single year, and that is Google's April Fool's announcements. This is a classic thing. Google's been doing this for many, many years. So on April 1st, they release blog posts and videos of products that just obviously aren't real, but really poke some fun at technology or their own Google tools. This year was no different. We got the ability to play a snakes game on Google Maps. And sometimes it's sort of like an April Fool's joke. Sometimes it's just sort of a fun little thing they do. So you actually could play this. I mean, this did actually work. It wasn't like it was just like pretend. This allowed you to go into Google Maps and play a snakes game where you were using like a train instead of a snake and going all over the map. And they still do have a standalone version of it on here too. So if you decide, hey, that was kind of fun, but April Fool's is over, you can come here and you can play Google Maps Snake. And so the game does exist after April Fool's is over. Other ones they included was one on Google Tulip, which okay, it was a product to communicate with plants. So they got a cute little video on that one. And then the other one I included here, there was a few other odds and ends, but the other big one they mentioned was the new screen cleaner for the Files app. Now, this one, it's pretty cute and clever because it straddles that line. And this is kind of where I'm going with all this. So what's the big deal? Why are we talking about this? Isn't it just kind of funny? Haha. Well, one of the important things with our students, of course, is to talk about how do you evaluate what's authentic online? How do you know, is this something real, or is it fake news? Is it something that we can trust? And so sometimes the stuff that Google does with the April Fools is obviously glaringly fake, but other times it just kind of skirts that line. And this one is kind of cute. So for this one, they talk about the screen cleaner app or the screen cleaner option for the Files app. And it talks about how what they're doing is they're using vibrations in your phone to vibrate the screen in certain ways to help remove smudges and things from the outside of your phone. Now, it's a joke, obviously, but maybe not obviously. They do a really good. If you watch the video, you kind of are like, huh, So you could see, depending on the age of the student and depending on some different factors, it would be interesting to include something like this every now and then as an example of how do we know what's real and fake online. There's a lot more where all that came from. I do have a post on Control-Alt-Achieve from a while back that lists their older April Fool's videos. So if you follow this link here, that'll take you out to that blog post. And what you'll see here are, I don't know how many there are now. I've been adding to these over the years. Looks like we're up to about 25. Okay, I do need to add the ones in from 2019. I will do that. I'll swing back around and update that. But there's a lot of these in here. And again, some of them are just kind of silly. Others really straddle the line of this could be real. So you could use them for, to talk to students about what is accurate online. But also, I just like them for training. If you're an ed tech person like me who does trainings, these are great little videos to throw in. And so I've tried to tag each of these with what's the topic. Like, does it deal with Gmail? Does it deal with search? Does it deal with the Chrome browser? Things like that. So if you're doing a training, these are fantastic videos to throw in during the training, the beginning, the end, to add a little bit of fun into your training. I like to use them for that. All right, let's keep on heading on down here. The next thing on this, I did see somebody mention another April Fool's thing. Hey, thanks for throwing that in there. I see in the YouTube comment stream, not an April Fool's specific thing, but the Google Thanos Easter egg was pretty funny. So yes, if you have not checked that out yet, you can run a search for Thanos, and there's the little infinity gauntlet will show up, and you can give a click on it, and I won't spoil it. I'll let you see what happens when that occurs. And I did not actually try that out until after I watched the movie. I was so careful to avoid spoilers. I went into social media shutdown mode starting around Thursday because I knew people would start seeing it Thursday, because I didn't actually see Infinity or the Avengers Endgame until Sunday afternoon. So from Thursday night to Sunday afternoon, I wouldn't look at YouTube or Reddit or anything. So if I didn't reply to people, it's because I was doing radio silence, so I didn't get spoiled on anything. Although I must say, just to let you know how much of a nerd I am, I went and saw the Avengers Endgame in Barberton because afterwards a bunch of local folks wanted to go out to eat at a restaurant called Thanos Family Restaurant, like THANO''S. It's a Greek restaurant, Thanos Family Restaurant. So yes, I waited to Sunday so that I could see the movie and then go eat at Thanos afterwards. It was a hoot. But hey, thanks for sharing that. Appreciate that. That's awesome. Very, very, very good. All right, let's keep on moving. So the second thing I was going to mention in the updates was that Gmail is getting, or now has, and again, I should preface all this, these things do roll out. So some things I'm showing you, it might not be on your account yet. It just kind of depends. Things do roll out. So if you don't see these things yet, they are on their way. But Gmail has the option to schedule when an email gets sent. Let me show you an example of this. So I'm not going to pull up my real email. That's always too dangerous. I'm going to use my trainer account here. So this is my trainer account screen here. And so this is just blah, blah stuff here. But let's say I go to compose a message. And so I'll say I'm going to send this to me. And I'm just going to do a test message. And here's the thing. In the past, if I were to, just click send, boom, it would go away. Well, right now, there's now a little down arrow next to the send button in Gmail. If I hit that little down arrow, I get a pop-up that says schedule send. So if I click on that, what that does is it pops up something where it gives me some suggestions. Do you want to send this tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, Monday morning, or pick a date and time? I can say, yeah, I want to send this on Thursday and I want to send it at, a certain time. I could even come in here and pick the exact time that I want to send it. And then when I click on schedule send, what happens is it now puts it into a new folder here on the left. And so you got your inbox and your start and all that stuff. There's now a scheduled section, and all of your scheduled messages will sit in there. And of course, you can click on them if you want to bring them back up, and cancel if say, well, no, I don't think I actually did want to send that, or I want to send it now, or whatever. You can always hit cancel and it'll bring it back out of the scheduled send, and you can process it again or edit it or do whatever you want to with it. So I guess the question is, why would you use this? I mean, really, there's a lot of possibilities there, but if you want to there's certain things you want to send out at a certain time, and you just don't think you're going to be able to be there sitting at the computer writing it at that time, you can do it all ahead of time and have it ready to go, 8 a.m. Tomorrow morning, and then it's ready to go out at that time. Or if it's an announcement like for our conference, and I want to have certain emails go out periodically to say, hey, don't forget we've got registration open for the conference or whatever. You can get that set up ahead of time. Question: is that something G Suite admins need to turn on? The email scheduler. I don't know. So what I would say is let's just take a quick look at the updates link here. A lot of these things, a lot of things, there's a control at least somewhere in there that you can decide to turn it on or turn it off. They're usually really good in these update blog posts to tell us how it is. So, there we go. Admins, no action required. Okay. Google's done a really good job of this. So if you follow the links I have here, these links will take you out to the blog post that Google made when they were announcing these. And if you get near the bottom, they always tell you things like, when is it rolling out? So like here, they're talking about how, it's getting rolled out certain dates, for like if you're on rapid release, it started April 1st. If you're on extended rollout, it was April 15th, but it could take longer than 15 days. So it might be May for some people. This really helps a lot to see when is it available, but also it'll tell you like, if you need to, make a change as a Google administrator. And some things do need to be like I just saw in the chat comments, the confidential mode. That's an example of one that does need to be switched on, right? Confidential mode is the option to be able to send emails and then have them expire after a certain amount of time, things like that. There's a lot of neat updates to Gmail, and some of them, yes, admins, we need to go in and turn these on. Other times we don't need to. All right, cool beans. Let's keep on heading down the line here. Next up, Google Slides getting the option to embed MP3 and WAV audio files from Drive into Slides. All right, so this is one that is again rolling out. I have it on 2 of my 3 accounts. I do have it on the account I'm on right now, so I can show you this with the account I'm using right now. This is my work account. It had not shown up on my trainer account though yet, which is kind of odd. So it's still working on rolling out to everybody. But the idea is basically this. We have been asking a long time for this option. That is the ability to add audio to Google Slides. There have been workarounds, stick a YouTube video in there and make it really teeny small and set it to autoplay, and hey, there's audio. But that's still, you had to, well, it doesn't have to be YouTube video, any video, but that was still a lot of, kind of jumping through some hoops there to make all that happen. So now the way it works is you can go to the insert menu, and when it gets rolled out to you, if it's not there yet, it will be soon. Under insert, you have audio. And when you click on audio, what it'll do is it'll open up your Google Drive and show you any files that you have that are appropriate files, meaning they're an MP3 file, they're a WAV file. I've got a bunch here from a long and short vowel sound activity I was doing because I was trying to, try this out. And so I made a little, I'll mention that later, I made a little vowel, long and short vowel sound activity. And so I can come here and I can pick any of my audio files, and it will drop that in as a little icon, a little audio icon. And then, of course, you can click the play button and it will play that audio. Once you've dropped it in, you can move it around, whatever, make it bigger, smaller, do whatever you want with it. There's also the format options button that you normally get, like when you do a video and you want to like set it to start at a certain time and end at a certain time. Well, audio is the same sort of way. If I click on that inserted audio and I click format options, there's an audio playback option in that panel that lets us do things like say, hey, when should it start playing? Does it play automatically? Like as soon as the slide loads, does it start talking, or do you have to click it to make it play? Things like, do you want it to just keep looping? After it plays, does it play over and over again? Like maybe, a music file. Do you want it to stop when the slide changes, or do you want it just to keep playing all the way through the entire slideshow? So those are the different options. The thing that I want to mention here, probably two main things that are important that I think kind of get missed a little bit on this. And one is the audio. You have to record it separately. It's not something that yet is built into slides. And I think that's definitely a missing piece. I hope that eventually you'll be able to go insert audio. When you click audio, it'll give you your drive, but then it'll also maybe have a button that says record up here, and you can just record it live, right? I mean, that would make perfect sense, that there should just be an option to hit record, and then it just records your audio and saves it right to your drive and inserts it right in. There's not yet. So what I did do a blog post recently where I talked about some suggested recording tools. So if you're looking on the same spot where we're at, where I had the announcement about how this is rolling out, I went ahead and put a link into the recording tools post I did. So this was a couple weeks back where I went through and looked at what are some decent tools that what are some decent tools that could be used for recording audio that are web-based? Because I mean, there are so many recording tools out there, of course, but the chances are most often students are probably going to be using Chromebooks. I mean, not always. I realize that. I mean, you're going to have iPads, you're going to have Macs and PCs, but there's a lot of Chromebooks. So I try to think what would be something that would work for most anybody. And so what I looked at were 4 tools that are all web-based: Chrome MP3 Recorder from Habla Cloud, Online Voice Recorder, Beautiful Audio Editor, and Twisted Wave. And so basically I go through each one of those and explain how they work, the pros and cons for them. These are all web-based. These will all work on Chromebooks. They're all free or have a free version. Now there's others, and I appreciate the comments I got from folks down in the comments portion about saying, hey, you could also use things like Soundtrap, or some other tools were mentioned as well. So that's the first thing I just need to mention is it's not built in yet. So you gotta do the recording yourself, and then the second piece of it is not only do you have to record it, but it needs to be shared in your drive. Okay. And I think that kind of gets missed as well. Like you say, oh, you go insert audio. I uploaded it to my drive. Let me grab the audio, drop it in. Oh, that's perfect. That's fine. Well, not exactly. Just getting it in your drive doesn't still make it work. You have to share it too, because if you just insert the audio as it is right now, and if I then, share this presentation with somebody and they go to click on the audio button, it'll say you don't have permission to listen to this audio. And I don't think that's always that clear in this. And again, maybe that's going to change. But at this moment, as of rollout, you've also got to go in and share it. So what I've encouraged people to do instead is just to put everything in a shared folder. And I think I did a GIF of that in the blog post. Yep. Nope. Thought I did. Said maybe I didn't. But that's okay if I did. Oh, I did. Yes, there it is. See, I doubted myself. So what I'm thinking, everybody do your own thing, but I'm thinking what I've been doing is I just created a folder called audio. I just named it audio, and I shared the whole folder. I just right clicked on the folder. I went into the advanced things. I said, let's share it as a link. And they said that anybody who has the link can view it, and saved that. And so now anytime I record audio that I want to put in a slideshow, all I do is drop it inside of the audio folder. And that's it, because when you put something in a folder, it inherits the permissions of the folder. And so that takes care of it. And, it's all in one happy place then. So just wanted to mention that it's I love this feature. I mean, I absolutely am so happy that we have this option now. But yeah, couple caveats there. You have to record the audio, put it in your drive, and make sure it's shared. But give it a little bit of time, and I'm sure Google's going to get that caught up to where you can just record it right there in slides, and then it'll make my old blog post obsolete. But that's okay. I'm used to that. That happens a lot. All right. Well, I'm going to pause there for a second. I'm just going to take a quick look over to the chat here and see if there's anything about this that I've missed. Looks good. There was a question, was wondering if you could show how to put a title timer in a slide. Would that timer sound have to be recorded as well? So Star, I might need a little bit more information about what you're asking there. You mentioned about a title timer in a slide. And I know what I'm thinking you mean by that, but I may not be really understanding what you're asking there. I've seen people who add timers on a slide where it's a YouTube video, like a countdown timer. And then they've got that like saying, hey, we're going to pause now, and you've got the next 2 minutes to chat with a partner next to you, and then we're going to get back together. And then they start running that. If that's what you're asking, Star, I'm happy to show that, but I don't want to misunderstand what you are asking there when you talk about the titles. So I will wait and see if we get more. Okay, that was it. Okay, if that was what you're asking, basically what I've seen people do, honestly, is there's a ton of YouTube videos out there that are countdown timers. So basically, you can just use theirs. You can just go to insert video, and you really can just search. So like if you just needed like, let's say you needed a 2 minute, whoops, thought I was clicked in there. Let's say you needed like a 2 minute, countdown. You're going to find a whole bunch of them that people have already made, and you can just, pick one of those, hit select, and it's going to drop that right into your slide. So again, all I did was insert video, and I just did a search, and I said like 2 minute countdown, and boom, there it is. I've got a 2 minute countdown. At this point, if it's something where I think I'm going to be initiating it myself, that's it. I'd be done. I would just drop it in there, and while I'm running the slideshow, I would just click it, and it would just start playing. I would just click it. Oops, sorry about that. Didn't mean to go full screen on you there. I would just click it, and it would start doing the countdown. Having said that, if you wanted it to automatically start, like if it was going to be this slide and you're going to move from one slide to the next, don't forget, you can always click on the video, go up to your format options, go to video playback, and you could say, go ahead and auto play this. So like if it's on slide 2, as soon as I click to slide 2, it loads the video and it just starts playing it right away. I don't even have to click it. The other thing is, if you don't really need a 2 minute timer, maybe you needed one that was, for whatever reason, 90 seconds, and you couldn't find one. You could still use the 2 minute timer. You could just change the video playback options. You could come here to your format options and say, I want it to start 30 seconds in. So it actually begins already 30 seconds into it. And so if that's the case, by setting it to start at 30 seconds in, now if I come here and play this, it's starting right at 1:30 already. And so now you've got a 90-second timer rather than a 2 minute timer. So as long as you have one that's longer than you need, you're actually kind of fine. You can just adjust it anytime that you need. All right, cool stuff. Good job, folks. All right, let's keep on moving. I'll go ahead and close out of that and that. All right, other updates from this month. This next batch here, these all came out really close together. So Google has a conference, or yeah, I guess it's a conference called Next that they do each year. And this was from Google Next 2019, and they released a bunch of things. So everything you see kind of starting around April 9th, 10th, and running kind of through most of the rest of this time, all of this, these were mostly announcements that came out of that conference. Again, I'm not going to go through them all. I'm just going to touch on the ones that I have bolded. If there's something I skipped that you want me to talk about, just throw a comment in the YouTube chat or highlight this and say, hey, let's take a look at this. But there's just a few that I thought I would mention. So one is that Google Assistant is now going to work with G Suite accounts. Well, this is something that at least some folks have been excited about and asking about. I really do like the Google Assistant. I have to be careful what I say so I don't trigger it for people here. I won't say all those key code words that will make it run. But basically, the Google Assistant is a very powerful AI tool to allow you to automate tasks, to ask it questions, to put things on your calendar, to do all sorts of stuff. I mean, I use my Google Assistant on my Google Home, on my phone. I use it quite a lot. It's getting more and more powerful all the time. When it first came out, though, it was restricted to just personal accounts. And so the announcement is, hey, guess what? This is now going to start rolling out for use with G Suite accounts. So school accounts would be able to use it as well. And I know some folks have wanted to be able to start integrating this into their school account, and this will give an opportunity for that. Another announcement that came out of Next was that Google Drive is getting a new option to label files. This is kind of cool. So here's the thing. All right. How do you organize your drive? Well, yeah, I guess we all, do you organize your drive? Maybe is the question. I think we all kind of do it a little bit differently. I really do try. I try to have folders and I try to put things in folders, but it doesn't always work out that way. So we're getting a new option here, a new possibility for keeping things arranged. So what you're going to be able to do, and then they don't have any pictures of this here. I was hoping I had a picture to show you what it looked like. But this is still in beta. This is still something they're testing. It's still something rolling out. But just to get you ahead of the curve, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to go into your drive and right-click on a file. And you're going to be able to add labels to your files, sort of like categories. So even though a file is in a folder, it can also get metadata added to it. You'll be able to categorize it. Now, how's that going to be helpful? Well, basically what that means is it's one more way to organize your stuff. If you've got a whole bunch of different files that might deal with maybe you're a math teacher and these files deal with, trigonometry. Well, they could all get labeled as such, and then you're going to be able to filter by that rather than just folders. You'll be able to use those labels as well. Your organization will also be able to set up top level labels that people can use as well. So lots coming out with that. It's a beta right now. You can apply to jump into the beta and try it out. But keep your eyes out as another option coming out soon. Cool. All right, next up, Google Drive is changing how Office files are handled. All right. Now, this again may not apply to everybody. Maybe you're not having your students use Microsoft Office. Maybe your staff still does, and they also use Google, or maybe you've completely switched over to G Suite. But I think it's fair to say there's probably a lot of schools out there where at least the staff are probably still using Microsoft Office files in some manner. Either you're getting sent them from people, or there's a reporting thing you need to send into the state and it requires it be in Excel format. And so at some point you need to use some Microsoft files. So Google's making some changes here. What they're doing now is basically getting rid of what used to be the Office editing extension. All right. So if you've followed me for a while with things I've shared, I actually did. I could probably hunt it down and pull it up here, but I actually did. Here, I'll pull it up real quick here. We'll just do a quick search for Microsoft Office, and we'll find it. I did a webinar sometime in the past and explained about this. There we go. 3 ways Google Drive and Office can live together in harmony. So it'll be easier just to show it here real quick. So we used to, well, we still do, but we've had an extension called Office Editing for Docs, Sheets, and Slides. And it was a free extension that you could install. And if you had that extension installed, what would happen is if you had a Microsoft Office file in your drive and you went to open it, what it would do is it would open in this light editor. And so it'd have a W for Word instead of the normal little Google Drive, Google Docs icon instead. And it was like a really watered down version of Microsoft Word. So you couldn't do like all the stuff like you could in Word, but you could do basics. So if somebody sent you a Word doc, you could open it, leave it a Word doc. You didn't have to convert it. You didn't have to turn it into a Google Doc, edit it, and then turn it back into a Word doc. You could do light editing right there in your web browser. Well, what they're doing is Google is sort of like, I think it's safer to say it's sort of like they're building that into Drive permanently. So you're no longer going to need to have that extension installed. It actually will probably cause a conflict. And I do believe they even mentioned that about letting people know they probably need to start uninstalling that. Yes, they said if your organization is using that app, you could have some issues. You probably want to have people uninstall that extension. So what's going to happen now? Well, here's the deal. In the future, if you upload a Word doc, a PowerPoint, an Excel spreadsheet, and put it in your Google Drive, when you go to open it, it's going to open in it's still going to look like Docs, but notice how it puts this little icon next to it, this DocX icon. It's going to open it inside of Google Docs without converting it. It'll still be a Word document. It'll still be a PowerPoint or an Excel spreadsheet, and you'll be able to now do more than just light editing. And so now not every feature will work, but way more features than before. You can start taking advantage of things like just the collaborative nature of having multiple people inside working at the same time. So you can have, a whole bunch of folks typing together in this Word document that's being opened in Google Docs without ever converting it. I think like add-ons won't work to begin with, and a few other things won't, but the vast majority of the regular Google tools will now work without needing an additional piece of software. So pretty neat, but it's a change. So again, really just wanted to get you guys ahead of the game on that so you're not caught off guard if you've been relying on the Office editing extension. Be aware this big change is coming with that. Oh, now this one kind of snuck in. It was like one little paragraph in a blog post. I'm like, hold on, this looks cool. So coming soon, comparison in Docs. Compare two Google Docs and review the differences as suggested edits in a new doc. What? That's cool. So here's the blog post. And again, it was just buried in here. I don't think they ever did a blog post just on it. There it is, buried down here in this blog post. I found that sentence. I go, hey, this looks kind of cool. So the idea is you're going to be able to take two documents and then run a comparison on them, and it'll make, I guess, a new document where it shows like the first document and then has filled in there as suggested edits, the places where there's discrepancies between them. I thought that's really neat. Another interesting way to maybe look at what change. I mean, I know we have version history, but what an interesting way to take this a step further and be able to see one version, an early draft of a term paper or an article or an essay, and then a later draft of it, and be able to see them kind of combined as one and see what those changes are right there. I think that's pretty clever. That's a neat thing to do. Other things that you always have to kind of think the negative as well. It maybe could be used for plagiarism concerns to be able to compare a student's work to the source to see, where things are similar and where things are different. Cool beans. All right, so keep an eye out for that one. Next up, another thing they mentioned at Next was the activity dashboard is getting a little bit of a facelift. Now, this we've had for a while. Activity dashboard is not something new. If you go to tools and you go to activity dashboard, it'll show you things like how many, who's viewed it. It'll show the trend of how often it's been viewed, and different things like that. Well, the new thing that they're doing to expand it out, and it was showing up on my screen. I think I probably could have let. I'm always worried I'm going to put somebody up on the screen that doesn't want to be up on the screen. So I'll just show you the picture they have here. But they're adding sharing history and comment trends to the activity dashboard. Now, what that means is sharing history will show you every time that document has been shared with somebody else, and the comment trends will show you how often people have been commenting on it. Now, this could be good for a lot of reasons, but the sharing, I think this is something that's forever ongoing battle that we deal with, and that is academic integrity. Is a student taking something and sharing it with somebody else in a way that would be inappropriate? And this just gives us one more option to be able to go into an activity dashboard on a file and then see what its sharing history is. Now, we could do this before. There are ways to do this, but you got to jump through a few hoops. Just being right there in the activity dashboard, that's nice. That'll be a nice, convenient place to be able to access that. So I thought that was worth mentioning. I thought that was a cool one. Next up, updates coming to Google Sites. These were also announced at Next. But Kirksville Web Design did a really nice job of kind of distilling this for us. So these came from the Google Next 2019 session on sites. There's a link on the Kirksville Web Design site that you can watch that video yourself. But what we have here are 9 of the takeaways from that. So if you're a Google Sites user, get excited. We got some neat things coming. There's going to be an image carousel slideshow feature built in. That's nice to have a gadget to do that without having to get real creative and come up with our own way to build our own slideshow carousel sort of things. So that's neat. I like that. The style customization, definitely. Yeah, text customization. I think that people have been asking for that for a while, to be able to go in and micromanage some of the text on a page rather than all the text having to be a certain font, a certain color. This sounds like we're getting some flexibility there. The template gallery, being able to create some templates that we can share with our organization. I think that's been something we've been missing. And then whatever better collaboration means, kind of curious to see what this is going to be. Site revision, page revision history, editor commenting. The thing I'm really waiting for, and I don't know if it's going to fall in that, is like page level permissions, like, being able to do collaboration, but say you can only edit this page, you can't edit the whole site. We really still need that to be on parity with what we had in the old sites, but who knows, maybe that falls under that category. We'll see. But nevertheless, we do have some new things coming out with sites that are worth taking a look at. Excellent. Okay, we're getting close to the end of our updates. Just a few more here. I'm keeping an eye on the comments at the same time, and it looks like we're in good shape there, so we'll keep on moving. The next update I was going to highlight was Google Classroom getting some updates. And these included a few things. So one of them is on the Classwork page, we can now filter by topics to make it easier when you have a ton of stuff on the Classwork page to just look at one particular unit. New items that get posted will now go to the top of the Classwork page instead of the bottom, so that they don't get lost as easily. And now when you attach things to an assignment, like slideshows and videos and stuff, they appear in a better thumbnail view. So let me show you a couple of these. I've got some things off to the side here I'll pull up so I can show you these. Okay, so this one, let me pull this one up first. So this one I was using to show the idea of the topics. So if this is your classwork page and you've got all of your different units in class, now this is just a demo, obviously no real kids or anything here. I was just doing this as a demo. But let's say you've got class materials, unit 1, unit 2, things like that. Well, this is going to grow, obviously. You're going to have a massive classwork page as the year goes on. If you use your different topics. So when you create something, if you go in to create an assignment and you pick, you pick a topic. If you pick a topic for it, and as long as you're putting things in topics, you now have this little filter over here on the left. You can say, oh, we're just working on unit 1 right now. We'll click unit 1 and everything else disappears and you can just look at the stuff from unit 1 and it expands each item out so you can see it a little bit better. If you go back to all topics, then you see everything again. So that's nice. That's a neat option to be able to manage that a little bit better. And then the other one, I'm going to use a different one to show you this one, the previews. So if like here's this example where I've got a bunch of things attached to this photosynthesis project. Well, now as you scroll down, you'll actually get these little thumbnails for, I think this is a video, this is a picture, this is a video, this is a website, this is a Google document. So depending upon what it is, you get this like thumbnail preview. That's really nice. That's so helpful to get a better idea of what it is you're clicking on, what it is you're seeing there. So that was a nice update as well to Classroom. All right, next up, Google Earth Timelapse. Now, this is not a new tool. Google Earth Timelapse has been around for a while. It's actually one of my Hipster Google tools that I always share in my Hipster Google session. It got an update, and I'm so happy for that because I get nervous sometimes. When a project gets created as like a little side thing and then nothing happens with it for a while, you worry, will Google eventually kill it? Well, they didn't. So Google Earth Timelapse got an update. Let me explain what this tool is. So if you somehow have slipped through and haven't heard about it yet, I'm going to go ahead and open it up here so we can see it. It is a little bandwidth intensive, so hopefully it'll load okay here for us. We'll give it a moment. It is pretty bandwidth intensive though. So there, okay, that's not too bad. So here's the idea. Google Earth and Google Maps use satellite imagery. Well, they try to update it all the time, right? So, at least once a year for more populated areas, several times a year, they get new satellite imagery. Well, what do they do with all the old imagery? Well, Google now has 35 years of satellite imagery. And Google Earth Timelapse basically lets you go anywhere in the world and watch the last 35 years unfold. Well, what they've done is they've updated this because it used to be 32 years. They added 3 more years of data, and then they updated the layout to be a more modern, easy to navigate layout. So this one, it brought me up to some bushfires in Australia, but you see they've selected a few over here just to kind of get you started if you're interested, like urban growth in Las Vegas. I could click there and it would send me over to Las Vegas. And again, this is bandwidth intensive, so sorry if the video suddenly gets kind of poor here for a moment. But now this is going to play and I can watch as Las Vegas grows over the last 35 years. So this would be great to visit your hometown if you're doing a neighborhood unit in elementary, or to look at the melting of a glacier or deforestation or the change of a coastline or the change of the flow of a river, or in this case I see the lake over here seems to be increasing and decreasing as time goes on. So what a neat way to take a look at humans' impact on Earth, but also just natural changes in our world. So that is Google Earth Timelapse. Got a nice facelift and some new years of data. So cool beans. Just wanted to get that out there for everybody. And the last update that I have from April, and then we'll take a pause and we'll see if there's any questions, see if there's something we skipped that anybody wants to chat about. Team Drives is getting renamed to Shared Drives. All right. This has been met with some less than excited responses from people. So this came out yesterday, and I tweeted this out on Twitter when I saw it. And I was like, oh, hey guys, heads up. And I made a joke about, oh, I guess I got to update all my slideshows now because I have like a Team Drive slideshow and, different training materials. So here's what's going on. So it sounds like at the end of May, mostly throughout June, they'll be rolling this out. Google's going to rename Team Drives to be called shared drives. And they say the reason they're doing that is because they thought the word team drive was too limiting, that people are using it for more than just teams. And so they're going to name it shared drives. I gotta admit, I side with a lot of the responses I got on Twitter. So when I shared this out, I was just doing it as a matter of fact, hey, heads up. Holy cow. A lot of people were like, I don't like this idea. And I get it because it's hard to distinguish products sometimes. And so right now, we already have shared with me. We have shared folders. We have shared files. And now we're going to have shared drives. I get it. I understand what Google's thinking, but I do worry a bit about end users that maybe are not as comfortable with some of that. And when you say, oh, go to the shared drive, they're going to think shared with me, or they're going to think a folder I shared with them at some point, or, so I think I would have preferred for it to have just stayed Team Drives. I realize it's used for more than just Teams, but I think it was a distinct enough name for it. But anyway, just be aware if that changes, which it sounds like it will. We do need to update training stuff, but also make sure we let our folks know so that when we go look into Team Drives and it's called something different, they don't panic and go, oh my gosh, where's all of our stuff? It's all still there, just going to be under a different name. I see a question here. Have you seen anything about the share calendar feature where others will can view your schedule without you sharing it with them? Oh, so we have a question here from Nikki. And no, Nikki, to answer you quickly, no, I have not. So the question was, just to reiterate it, have I seen anything about a shared calendar feature where other people would be able to view my schedule without me ever sharing the calendar with them? If this is something new, different, my quick answer is no. I have not heard about any changes in that. My understanding of Google Calendar has always been that the ability for people to view things on your calendar, it depends on multiple levels of things. So for example, again, I'll pull up something that's not my real account. I don't mean that, not my personal account. I'll bring up my trainer account because I don't think there'll be anything on here because this is just a trainer account. It'll have like Google Classroom calendars. But the idea being that under normal conditions, if you create a calendar, and you sent me the link. Okay, excellent, Nikki. Thank you. I'll take a look. If you get a chance, Nikki, let me know where you sent that to. If you sent it to my email, and then if so, I can pull that up off screen and pull that over. In Google Calendar, under normal conditions, if I go in and I say, hey, I want to, create a calendar here, and let me create a new calendar just as a quick test here. So we'll just do GEG test. By default, your calendar is going to have permissions that were set by your school. So you do need to check on that, okay? It's not like usually I say, oh, when you create something, it's private by default. Please do realize that's not necessarily true. I mean, your organization can set global settings on newly created calendars. So when you've created a calendar, what you're going to do is go to that calendar and go to its settings and check the permissions. See who's able to see it. And those permissions fall in two main areas. It's going to be who can see it in general and who can see it specifically. The who can see it in general is can the public see it, and can people in your school see it? So you can either check or uncheck those options as to whether the public can see it or whether your school can see it. You can also decide how much can they see. Can they see the actual details or just free busy? And then below that is where you can add specific people and say, okay, in addition to the public and my whole school, I want to share with just specific people. All right, so Nikki, thanks. I'm going to pull this up. And you said you sent it to my Gmail for my work. Perfect. I'm going to pull that up right now, and then I will pull that link over and we can take a look at that here together and see. Thank you. I must have missed. I did miss that. I completely did miss that. This was from April. So let's pull this over and let's see what we got here. So save time with new scheduling feature in Calendar. We're updating the creation flow for meetings in Calendar to help you save time in an easier way. You'll see several changes when creating a meeting. Okay. So peek at calendars and automatically add guests. Now, when you add a calendar in the search for people box, you can temporarily view coworkers' calendars. Creating a new event then automatically adds those people as guests to your meeting and might suggest a title for that meeting. So I need to find out more about what that means to say that you can temporarily view a coworker's calendar. Do they say further down here? Let's see. Admins, no action required. I do see some folks saying you're looking into disabling it. Okay. The feature will be on by default. So quick answer, I don't know. This is one that I'm sure I saw in the flurry of things that came through, but I did not pay close enough attention to it for it to register with me. So I think that's one we definitely need to understand. What does that mean? I don't know, because yeah, that is a definitely, I get the concern. Yeah, to say that you can peek at somebody's calendar, to temporarily look at a coworker's calendar. Is it just free busy? But even then, free busy, even that in itself, people could say, I don't know about that. So I would say definitely follow up with this. I do see they've got some links here. Looks like it's rolling out right now. All right, definitely need to look into that one a little bit more. If anybody has more details, please do share that. Thank you, Nikki, very much for bringing this to our attention. I appreciate that. All right, guys, we're going to switch gears. But before we do, last call at the moment. We can always swing back around if we need to. But last call at the moment. Anything on what's new in the last month-ish? Anything we skipped? Anything that you got questions on? Please feel free to throw that in the chat. Throw it in the margins here. I just wanted to scroll up and down to make sure I didn't miss anything, and I do not see any comments. So it sounds like we are ready to move on. Certainly, I will revisit that if something comes up before we're done. All right, let's keep on moving. Nothing in our Q&A right now, so that's totally fine. This is just another place you can, if you want to ask a question, just gives you one other place to do so. And we'll look at that again if we need to. All right, let's head on down to show and tell. Now, I don't want to scare anybody. There's a lot of stuff in show and tell. We are not, again, going through all of these. We haven't had a meeting since January, so this list grew kind of big. So I am not going to go through all of these here. Again, if it's highlighted bold, if it's bolded, those are some things that I thought, oh, hey, I'm going to mention this real quick. Same thing as before, though. You please click on all of these. Everything here. If there's something that looks interesting to you, give it a click. I obviously thought it was cool enough to include it. And so it's something that I think is definitely worth checking out if you want to scroll down and look through all of these different resources here. If there's something I skip over that you would like to talk about, certainly let me know. All right. So the first thing I always do, I do mention really quick, just any recent posts from my blog. So what's new? I did roll out a podcast. So if you have in the past enjoyed things I've shared on the Control-Alt-Achieve website, this is sort of like the audio version of that. So I'm now doing the Control-Alt-Achieve podcast as well. And basically the idea is just, if I post a new post on my site, a new blog post, I'm going to try to do a short little podcast to go along with it. It'll be short, like I've been keeping them around 10 minutes long, just nice, quick, short things. If you got a short commute to work, boom, you can zip through it pretty quick, or put me on fast speed and get through even quicker. And the idea is I'm not necessarily going to go into every single detail of the blog post, but I'll hit the key items of what the new blog post covers, explain a few quick things from it, and then point you back to the blog post if you want more details. So basically it's an audio supplement to go along with it, because I know for some folks that just works better. Maybe you don't have the time to always get out to a blog, but it's helpful to receive things as a podcast. So that is available. You can subscribe to it in all the normal places you would as usual. Another post I put out in this last month was an update to my Hipster Google stuff. I did the original Hipster Google post way back. I think I got a link to it here. Let's see. The original Hipster Google was March of 2017, so over 2 years ago. Well, a lot of new tools came out, and I had tried to update the old post, but I was like, ugh, I think I just need to make a new post to catch up on the new stuff. So Hipster Google 2 are a lot of tools that came out probably in the last year that I just hadn't been able to incorporate into the original post. And so I think there's, I don't remember how many I have in here, 20-ish maybe. So if you come here, it looks like, yep, 22. So these are 22 tools, really cool things like the data GIF maker, where you can have students add data and it creates a cool animated GIF to make their data come to life. That's a great one. Or life tags with all of the, hundreds of thousands of Life magazine photos that are available for search and access. Tour creator, story speaker, make choose your own adventure stories right inside of Google Docs. Semantris, a vocab game, on and on down the line. So many cool things that have come out over the last year or so that I had been sharing in my Hipster Google training, but had not updated on the blog post yet. So, and as an example of how the podcast works, so for example, take this one, the Hipster Google session. Notice how I do have a link to the podcast and a link to the YouTube video that goes along with it. So in this case, what did I do? I had 22 new Hipster tools. I just mentioned 4 of them in the podcast. So I picked 4 of them that I thought were really cool, highlighted them, and said, for all the rest, you can head back, to the blog. So that's sort of the idea is, again, try to keep it nice and short and just, let you know, hey, there's something new. And also, if you prefer video, the same thing is available on YouTube as well as I do those. All right. Other than that, let's see if there was anything else new I put out. I already talked about the audio recording tools. I did just put one out where I was playing around with those audio recording tools, and so I did a short and long vowel sound activity. Basically, it was twofold. I wanted to, force myself to use the new tools and say, okay, so we can put audio in a slideshow now. So what can we do with it? So I went ahead and built a little activity here where the kids basically are going to have clip art that has long and short vowel sounds, but I used the audio tool. So I recorded myself saying the words and added them in as audio, and the students can click it, they can hear the words spoken, and then they can drag and drop these into the short and long bins for that. So it was fun. It was a fun activity to see how could we use audio in a slideshow. There's other little extensions, like the kids can add their own pictures and write sentences and stuff like that. But if you're like, well, Eric, I'm not a primary school teacher, we don't do short and long vowel sounds, I teach AP, American history, I still think this blog post is worth taking a quick look at, because one of the things I had fun with as I was learning this was, how can we do this so that it groups? Actually, I can show you this really quick here. I'll just make a copy of the template and show you. But here was the idea. I wanted the kids to be able to play the audio and drag the image over and drop it and I wanted the audio to stay with it. I mean, I wanted to like basically stick the recorded audio on the picture so that it was one item together. And now this could work with anything. I mean, you could teach any grade level, any subject area. Being able to take audio and attach it to something so that it moves with it, I think is valuable. And so the way I did that, and I'll just demonstrate it really quick here. I'll ungroup and regroup this, is I used what's called grouping. So the idea was I had the clip art, I had the image that I added, and then I had the audio that I added. And then basically I just took the audio and I dragged and dropped it on top of the clip art. And when they were together, what I did was I used the shift key to select both of them. So you click on one, you hold down the shift key while you're clicking it. While you're holding it down, you click on the other. And I grabbed both the image and the audio together. And with them both selected, I then went to the arrange menu and I chose group. Now this works in drawings, it works in slides. You hit group, boom, they're now one object. So now if I drag them, they move around together, but I can still click on the audio itself and play it. So it's still playable, but they move as one object together. So I think that's a cool thing, a good takeaway, even if you aren't teaching vowel sounds. That's still a good takeaway. All right, so those were things from my blog post recently. Other things that jumped out at me over the last month or so that I wanted to mention. One was a neat post that involves Google Sheets. So this is Googley. At first you may think it's not. You say, this is about Twitter, but it's actually a Googley thing. So Jen Giffen, my wonderful friend from up north in Canada, put out a nice blog post here on using the service If This Then That. And it's a service has been around forever. If this, then that basically lets you set up routines that get triggered and cause things to happen. That works with tons of different services. And Jen said, hey, here's a really cool if this, then that application, which is you can set it up so that every time you tweet, anything you tweet will automatically get recorded into a Google spreadsheet. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool because, yeah, now I can so easily go back and see all the things I tweeted, all the things I shared in one quick, easy place. I know there's other ways that you can do this, but I thought this was nice. So here's my spreadsheet here. So I did set this up, and so this is it. This is my Google spreadsheet that it feeds into, and it's automatic. Anytime I tweet anything, if I retweet something, it just gives me the date, the time. It gives me the actual text of it, and then it gives me a link out to that tweet, so I can go out and click on it and access it real easily. So that's awesome. If I need to be like, oh, I know I shared that, I can, anytime I need to, I can pull this spreadsheet open, go Control F to find what I'm looking for, and boom, get right back to it. So I'm like, thanks, Jen. I liked that a lot. So that's a neat Google Sheet usage for Twitter. Other things that jumped out at me with the scroll down quite a bit. I know there's a ton of stuff here. Another one that I put in bold here. This is just an article. I think it's worth reading. It's an article called "The Hottest Chat App for Teens is Google Docs," and this is an article that The Atlantic did. I just think it's good to be aware. Not that, I mean, if you thought about it, I'm sure we all would realize this is what's happening. But I think it's important that we stay, up to date and aware of what trends are with our students. And one of them is that Google Docs, as much as we love to use it for, awesome educational things, it is being used many, many, many times by students as a chat app that basically they are firing up a Google Doc in the morning and sharing it with their friends and using it to chat throughout the day and doing it many times in a way that is intended to look like they are working on schoolwork, like to the point that they may take a teacher's worksheet and make a copy of it and share that with somebody and then use the commenting feature or, type in the doc and chat back and forth. And it looks very much like, oh, well, we're working on a school assignment, even to the point that when they mention here that when, a teacher or somebody would approach, if they're using the comment feature, they just quickly hit the resolve button and the thread just disappears, just boop, now it's still there. It's just up in the comments, but it disappears and looks like it's gone. So just again, heads up. These are wonderful features. These are great features. Collaboration and communication and using the comment feature. That's great. But keep in mind, it's a tool. It can be used for productive things. It can be used for distracting things. Now, who's to say? I mean, it still could be just fine. This could be fine as a good way for kids to communicate. But yeah, well, we definitely need to have structure. And I can understand where a teacher would say, at this point, you're supposed to be doing ABC. This is what we're working on right now, not chatting about something completely unrelated. And just heads up, here's one more way that students might be using Google tools, in this case, to be able to chat throughout the day on something that might not be educational. So worth a read, worth a read. Next one up, awesome website, Templates for Teachers. So this site was put together by Sarah Kiefer and Beth Kingsley. And Sarah and Beth share wonderful things all the time. We're very proud in Ohio to claim them as our own. They've created and shared so many awesome things. They have put together a site called Templates for Teachers. And the idea is basically this. We come across a lot of really neat Google Slides templates, Google Docs templates, Google Drawings templates. And so they're just trying to make it easy to find a bunch of those in one location. So on the homepage, they have templates that they have created. So if you scroll down through here, you can see all the templates they've made. They've got several pages of them, and you can filter those down by age range, by audience, by format. And then they also have a link here to templates created by others. And so this kind of points you out to other people who have created templates. So kind of them to include my Control Alt Achieve site on there with a few of my templates, as well as folks like Ryan O'Donnell. Oh, love Ryan from the Check This Out podcast out in California, and on down the line. We got, Matt with Ditch That Textbook, Tony Vincent. Tony's a good friend of mine as well. These are all awesome folks. And so thanks to Sarah and Beth for putting Templates for Teachers together and sharing that out. The next one, I think it's just so fun. It's so cool. Sometimes I share things for a million different reasons. This one, it checks them all. It's googly, it's educational, it's valuable, but it's also just so cool. And so this is from Matt Mays at Perry, another person we will proudly claim as our own. Matt does so many awesome things here at Perry Local. And he just came up with this really clever idea for a random student name picker. Now, there's a bunch of ways you can do this. Use Flippity, use this, use that, use whatever. But I thought this is actually really, really cool. So here's what he did. And I'll open up an example here. And I apologize. This is going to probably be hard to see because it's going to flash so fast here. But basically what he did was he said, let's create a slideshow where each student has their own slide. And the kids could make their own. I mean, they could put their picture in, they could add facts about themselves. What a neat way to get to know students as well. But then what he did was he went in and did that old hack we always do where you change the delay speed on the slide. Here, I'll pause it for a second here. There we go. So at the end of the link for the Google slideshow, when you go to present it, there's that code that says delay ms, delay milliseconds equals whatever. So he set it to 150. So 150 milliseconds, that's, like an eighth of a second. I mean, I could take it even further down. I could say like 50 milliseconds. That would be a 20th of a second. The point is you can set it at whatever you want. And then when you do, it basically is just flying through these slides, like just scrolling like mad. And so basically the teacher, and again, I apologize for whoever I'm giving a headache to right now, including myself, but you could have this thing just cruising through. And then as the teacher, you wouldn't look at it. You would turn your back to it and you would basically take your hand and boom, you would hit like the space bar. If you could hit, you can hit whatever key, like you hit the space bar, boom, it stops. And then it stops on there. So you can say, okay, we're going to pick a student. You can hit play. It goes crazy. And then you're like, 1, 2, 3, click, and then boom, I'm back to Carlton again. And I'm like, oh, that's really clever. So what a neat way for kids to be able to customize their own page, to add some information about themselves, but then you can have that pulled up as a student random picker anytime you need to. So thanks, Matt. That's clever. That's cool. I like that a lot. And then one that just came out yesterday, I think. So this is a very thorough post from Kathleen Morris. Love Kathleen so much. She shares so many amazing things, a lot of times focused on primary grades, a lot of times focused on appropriate use of technology, school safe, copyright free type things. Well, she put together a wonderful blog post. She calls it a beginner's guide to Google Slides in the classroom, but maybe it meets you in the beginning, but it takes you a really long way. And so if you're looking for some awesome slides resources, this one that Kathleen just put out is exhaustive as you go down. It covers so many things about creating slides and all the different things, all the different tools inside of slides that you can use. But of course, the real key is what you can do with it. So practical, fun activities you can use in your classroom with Google Slides. And again, it is a monster post there. And Kathleen, again, always creates so many really high quality materials, and wanted to give a shout out to her for that. Now, I do see we have a few things that other folks added, so I will absolutely mention those. And I apologize if I don't know enough about it to give it fair shake here, but I see that the Ocali folks mentioned that they have created a resource that includes iOS and Android apps and tools that can help support their community. Now, Ocali is the Ohio Center for Autism. And I'm going to forget. I'm sorry. I'm biffing on you guys here. And low incidence. Sorry, Ohio Center for Autism and Low Incidence. And so this is a resource they put together of tools that could help folks within their community with skills. And so if you come in here and pop this open, you'll see there's a lot of googly things in here, but basically it explains not just the tool, but there are Google ones as well. There's others, not just what the tool is, but would it assist independent living? Would it help with competitive integrated employment? Would it help with post-secondary training? What's the description about it? How could this be used? And what is the cost and how can you access it? Whether it's, an iOS item, an Android item, is it a Chrome extension? Is there a web version of it? So thanks, guys. That is a really comprehensive, valuable tool that includes a lot of Google tools, but other ones as well. And then I see from Tusky Valley, they're looking at doing a Google certification level 1 and 2 course this summer. Looks like at the moment, Scott Summers is kind of casting the net out there to see would people be interested in this. And so Scott has an interest survey link here. If you're like, I would like to get level 1 or level 2 certified. And yeah, I think it would be nice to be able to attend a camp where I can just go through and learn all that. This link will take you out to the form he has set up as he's collecting some information on wanting to see about setting one of those up. So thanks for sharing that, Scott. All right. I'm going to now scroll back up through the document and see if there's anything else that people have left comments on or have questions about. Obviously, we've covered probably a third of all the resources in here. So if there's something we did not talk about that you would like us to, I am certainly happy to. While I give you guys a moment to do that, so we'll have this be the last call. If you want to add a question in the document, in the Q&A, the show and tell, the upcoming events, in the YouTube chat, I'm going to give you a moment to do that. And while you're doing that, I'll do my kind of wrap up reminders, and then we'll see what folks may have still to ask about. So a couple of quick wrap up reminders I want to give to you guys is please remember to sign in for this meeting if you haven't. In the Google Doc agenda, underneath the section called Important Links, highlighted in green, is the sign-in form. This does two things. It allows me to send you a PDF certificate of attendance for being part of the meeting, but it also allows me to report numbers to Google to say, hey, we had so many people attending our GEG Ohio meetup. We do have requirements to have, so many meetings so often, and this fulfills that and allows me to be able to send that in. So it's a very quick form, very, very simple. Just fill in your info, pick today's date, and whether or not this was your first time attending a GEG meeting, because Google is interested in knowing that. I'll also remind you again that we do have the new Google, the new GEG Ohio Google group. Now, even if you're not from Ohio, it's fine. Anybody can join. We're happy to have anybody here. But this is where we're putting our energy into now as far as communication is through this Google group. You can go to the link for this Google group and you can join the group at that point. And then basically if somebody shares to the group, you'll get an email just like a normal distribution list. You can of course say, I want to get every email or just once a day, put them together, however you want to do that. We still will maintain the old Google Plus community, but the main focus going forward is to build this Google group as a way to communicate in our group. And then anything else that we share as far as GEG Ohio goes, remember you can always keep up to date on the main GEG Ohio website, which is at bit.ly/GEG Ohio. There you'll see links to that discussion group. You'll see links to our monthly meetings so you can stay up to date. Those dates do change, so always check. My guess is I'll probably have to adjust the one at the end of May. I believe on May 31st, I do have an obligation that day, so it'll probably be either a little bit earlier or a little bit later. Probably a little bit earlier for that one would be my guess. All right, guys, I'm going to do one last little scroll down through here to see if I have missed something. And if I have and I miss it again, make sure you highlight it in yellow or something to make it jump out at me. But I'm not seeing anything else at the moment. So I think it looks like we may have covered everything that we're going to cover here today. And please don't forget, submit your proposals for the Spark conference. Looking forward to that, and going to leave that open for just a little bit longer for folks that want to submit a proposal to that. So guys, thank you again so very much for being part of our meeting today. It's been such a pleasure connecting with you guys, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day. For those that are watching this in the future on recording, thank you as well for taking the time to set aside some time and get caught up on things. Please consider in the future joining us again for these monthly meetings. And I always extend the invitation if you'd like to jump in the hangout with me and actually pop in for 5 minutes and share something live and in person. Just let me know ahead of time and I can send you an invite to let you into that. Other than that, thank you guys so very much and have a fantastic wrap up to the school year as that starts to come to an end. See you guys next month. Take care.